Happy Monday. It seems like the water cooler question of the day is, man, how about that injury for Hutch? Lions fans are not. It's the talk of the league. We're not showing the replay, but last night in the third quarter, Aiden Hutchinson was trying to sack Dak Prescott for a second time, and his flying left leg collided with Aleem McNeil, which resulted in a broken tibia. Hutch was a strong candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, and PFF data showed he had the most pressures and pass rush win rate with a far margin over any other defensive end in the league. This afternoon, the Lions confirmed that 97 had a successful surgery last night at the Baylor White Medical Center in Irving, just 16 minutes or 13.2 miles from AT&T Stadium. The team says he will return to Detroit this week and is expected to make a full recovery, though there is no timeline for his return to play right now. According to the American Academy of Osteopathic Surgeons, most tibial shaft fractures are 4 to 6 months of healing completely. A more minor fracture may heal in 6 to 8 weeks, but Campbell referenced today that it'll be about 4 to 6 months. His season is likely done unless the Lions go all the way to New Orleans in February.
Yeah, I really just want to, I texted him. I also just want to say a prayer to him and his family. Horrific injury. I mean, what a great human being, obviously an outstanding player, but a great human being, and left a legacy here, and I know he's the heartbeat of that team. So really just want to say a prayer to him and his family, tell him that they're in our thoughts.
Yeah, it was tough to see. I didn't really know what happened until kind of we got closer to him, and people started talking about it. But I'm thinking about him. This whole team is thinking about him. I feel like the whole city of Detroit is thinking about him.
Outside of the football aspect of it, you just have so much respect for the guy for how he goes about his business as a man and a teammate, because he gives everything he has to us. And you guys see it. You guys see the way he plays. And I just know how much this means to him, and being able to be out there and play with his teammates, I know how much that means to him. So you're just gutted for him.
I think you don't really just replace a player like that. You just hope guys step up. And I think we got the right guys in this room. You can't really replace him. You can't replace that energy, the person, just who he is. So you just try to step up, know that he's going to be around the rooms, keep feeding us those positive vibes, and just go out there and play hard for our brother.
Hutch, really that guy, to be honest. It sucks that he went down, today. That means everybody else got to pick up the load. And Coach Campbell talked about that earlier in the week, about picking up each other's loads. That's going to make us, a great team and make us better.
Now it is the Guardians that are playing at Yankee Stadium tonight, not the Tigers, but the Gritty Kitties gave us a run to remember and hopefully propel themselves to new heights going forward. President of Baseball Operations Scott Harris and manager AJ Hinch spoke this morning, and we'll be breaking down everything they had to say for the rest of the week right here on CBS Detroit Sports, from pitching strategies to specific positions and players. But today I'd like to focus on roster management. How exactly does this season impact and set up the 2025 Tigers?
We demonstrated over the last 50 or so games we can play with anybody. I think our track record suggests that we can. At the same time, the second thought I have in my head, and I know AJ has in his head too, is these guys can get way better. A bunch of these young players can get a lot better. They're just starting to get comfortable at this level.
Of course, the organizational philosophy of betting on the youth isn't a short-term plan around here. The Tigers, as funded by Chris Ilitch and presided over by Scott Harris, want to continue to be driven by the talent coming from the 6th best farm system in baseball, with 5 prospects in the top 100, according to MLB.com.
Regardless of what we do this winter, the majority of our growth has to come from within. There are too many young players on this roster that can and must improve this offseason. The gains that they access this offseason with the help of his coaching staff, when we add all those up when we get to Lakeland in February, they have to outweigh anything we do via an external addition, because there's just too much opportunity on our roster. It's the beauty of building with young players. It's why we've been so adamant about building with young players, because they continue to improve. We got to help them improve. We can't ignore the growth that needs to come from within.
Colt Keith has graduated, and we've gotten glimpses of Jackson Jobe and Jace Young. But this does not eclipse the Tigers from opportunities on the free agent market, according to Harris.
When I look at this team, I'm really proud of all the versatility we built into the team, because it gives us a ton of opportunity this offseason to add in different places. Like, take a look at Matt Vierling. Like, he can play on the dirt and on the grass. Like, if we find an addition on the grass that can help us, then he moves to the dirt. If we find an addition on the dirt that can help us, then he moves to the grass. Like, it's one of the reasons why we build the team this way. So I think positionally, we got a little left-handed towards the end of the year. I think we could use a right-handed bat to balance us out. And then pitching. We're always going to be trying to add pitching. I really like the depth that we have right now, both in the pen and in the rotation, but we got to add more pitching this offseason. I think I'll have more specific thoughts when we get to the GM meetings or the winter meetings, but I got to do a little more work on what exists in free agency and trade.
The Tigers had a reputation for being so well coached before that players could come to Detroit and get better. Now combine that with winning baseball, and that makes the Old English D a lot more attractive to potential free agents looking to join a player-driven system.
One thing that players appreciate is the open and honest of where you're at and what you can offer, right? So, and I'm talking about internal, external. And as much as I wanted to make sure our players know, that we're a winning organization. We are dedicated to being, player driven, that we are going to drive them as far as they can possibly go. I'm also speaking to the rest of the league. We feel good about where we're at, and we know that things have changed, and that our responsibility now is going to be prepared for what's ahead. And we want to be known as a winning organization. Well, we are. We want to be known as a playoff team. Well, we are. And now the work really begins. When I say that this 2024 team is the floor, it doesn't guarantee anything. Like, we need our internal guys to take that seriously and use it as fuel moving forward. And we also need anybody that we trade for, that we acquire, that we sign, understands the expectation of being a Detroit Tiger. And so I think the exciting part for us is now all of these things that we've talked about since the day that he arrived, all these things that we've talked about since the day that I have arrived, we're chipping away at earning that, that credibility and that respect that gives you the opportunity to take it to the next step.
Harris also made a point to bring up the fragility of a clubhouse. I can tell you from my experiences in the Tigers clubhouse this summer that this is a very close-knit, well-balanced group of young men who built layers of trust and respect into this season. Harris made a point to say that he knows any additions have to work into that balance, and that's part of evaluating any roster signings.